Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the Mezco 112 Collective Gomez. And this figure has a pretty interesting history. It was originally released at ToyFair 2019. Mezco included it in their goodie bag that they hand out to the press at the event, and pretty much right away a couple of them hit eBay and people were going crazy over it. I saw some bids on eBay as high as $1,200. I think I saw one for $800. There was all kinds of stuff going on, and then during ToyFair, Mezco also announced that they were doing a giveaway, so all you had to do was repost this picture that Mezco posted and you could win one of the goodie bags that included Gomez. And people were going crazy, making fake accounts and just posting the picture multiple times to increase their chances of winning. All kinds of insane things that people were doing to try to get this figure, and it was just a lot of hype surrounding it. But patience paid off, because the following Tuesday Mezco made this figure available on their website, and at first it jumped up and it was only on the website for about, I want to say, like 20 minutes, and then they were all gone. And it was a special like ToyFair edition, which included a bunch of the cool stuff that they gave out at ToyFair. Not everything, because they also gave out a Blade figure, and of course they're not going to send a Blade figure along with the Gomez figure for those online orders, but they did send a bunch of pins and lanyards and all kinds of cool stuff, and we'll be taking a look at those things in this video too, just in case anyone's curious. But those pre-orders sold out very fast, and then shortly after they put it up for pre-order again, and it was a different version. I guess it's going to be the same figure, but it's going to include some other things, and that pre-order stayed up for about 24 hours. So everybody who wants this figure had their chance, it feels like. And that second pre-order, those ones aren't going to ship until July, between July and September, I think it says. So if you were quick, you were able to get the figure right away, and if not, you just have to wait till July. So I don't think that's too bad. I really like how Mezco handled that whole situation. It really killed what scalpers were able to do with this figure, because no one should have to pay thousands of dollars for this thing. It's an awesome figure, but not worth thousands of dollars. So anyways, let's get into this, starting with the packaging very quickly. It's a very simple packaging, and just in case you don't know, Gomez is the mascot for Mezco, and that's what we see here. We get a picture of Gomez, and the version that first went up for pre-order actually has the ToyFair exclusive sticker on it, so that's kind of cool if you're into that stuff. And over here it says Agent Edition. I was almost going to say Agent Venom. How awesome would a Mezco Agent Venom be? Anyways, on the side it says Gomez. On the back we get like a magnified look at some kind of insect. Looks pretty interesting. On this side it says Gomez again. So that's it for the packaging. It's collector friendly. It's the small packaging that Mezco uses for their exclusives, and I'm a big fan of that. Hopefully they start to use that more often. Okay, so now here we have Gomez out of the box, and I'm going to tell you right away that this is probably one of the funnest Mezco figures that we've seen so far. He just has so many different display options, so many different accessories, and the body that they use is perfect for this. It's a lot of fun to mess around and play with. I can't really tell if it's new. I want to say that it's the same body as Spider-Man, but some of the articulation seems to be increased a little bit, so maybe it's the Spider-Man body and then they just tweaked it a little bit. I know some people out there have said that it's a Spider-Man body, but it feels like it gets a little bit more range on the torso than the Spider-Man figures do. But yeah, this figure just really makes me feel like the Joker figures and some of the horror figures that Mezco have put out are missed opportunities, because why didn't they just use the same body that they did here for those figures? Because the only flaws with those figures are the articulation. Otherwise, they're awesome figures. They just, you know, their arms suck, their torsos aren't that good. The legs are usually fine, but the upper bodies aren't great, so I don't know why they didn't just do what they did here with those figures. So as I mentioned, Gomez is the Mezco mascot, and he is based on a roach, and I like this head a lot because it's kind of like cartoonish. The other heads look a little more realistic, and we'll look at those in just a second here, but this head looks really cool. It has like a fictional type of feel to it, which is nice. And then the body is really cool. As you can see here, it's just a, you know, a suit and tie, and I really love what they did with the tie. It actually has like an elastic band in there, so you don't have to worry about it sagging or moving around, and you pull it, just goes right up. And then you have some buttons here on the shirt that are going up there. Same thing on the jacket. You have some buttons that you could see there. They're not actual buttons, they're just little pieces of vinyl or something like that. But anyways, it does look really nice. And then the belt looks cool too. Originally, I thought the pants had loops on them and the belt actually went through them, but it doesn't. The belt is just one sculpted piece with the loops kind of sculpted on, and then they're held onto the pants with strings. So that's fine, it works, but I think it would have looked a little more realistic if it had like the actual loops, but you know, it's fine how it is. He doesn't have any pockets or anything on his pants, but it's no big deal because that area is kind of covered by this anyways. But the jacket is removable, and you know, that gives you another look for the figure, so that's cool. And then other than that, the pants are just black. And then you get down to the shoes that are really interesting. Check that out. That's awesome. And then they have like the Mezco logo on the inside here. At first, it's really hard to tell that there's magnets in there because it's not like you could just stick them on your refrigerator and it's going to stick there. I actually had to get another magnet to prove that there's magnets in there. So as you could see, you know, there are magnets. They do hold on. And, you know, if you go the other way here, it doesn't want to attract to the magnet. So there's definitely magnets in there, but they're not very strong. As you could see, it comes right off. And then on the bottom of the shoes, you have a sculpted Mezco logo. And one big attraction for this figure is the potential to just use this suited body for like goons or just random characters. But one thing that makes that difficult is the fact that the neck is the same kind of texture as the insect head. And that is cool. I like that. But as far as for head swapping goes, it makes it kind of difficult because the neck is kind of thick. And I really didn't want to risk trying to pop that out just to, you know, try different heads, because I'm happy with what I got going on here. But I am going to try some head swaps later on in the video, and we'll take a look at those in just a minute here. And the jacket is pretty easy to remove. The best way to go about it is to take off his hands. Then it slides right off. So that's a really cool look too. And all the stitching on his clothing is very well done. Check out the collar there. All of it is really, really nice. I didn't have any like threads hanging around or anything. I did have a couple threads on the jacket, but I just clipped them off and they were fine. But on the undershirt, there's no hanging threads or anything. It's very well done. And now for the heads, all three of them are very well sculpted. This one is by far my favorite. I like that it has more of like a cartoonish kind of animated look. It doesn't look like a realistic roach. I did try to go online and look at pictures of roaches' heads zoomed in, and I didn't see anything that looked like this, but maybe there's some kind of roach out there that looks like this. But it does look exactly like the Mezco logo that we see on Mezco products, and it just looks really cool, very different and strange. And the sculpting work is very nice. The paint work is very nice. And the eyes are really interesting because it has like a kind of a grid effect on the eyes, but it's really hard to see on camera. You could kind of see it on this eye. You could see that there's like a honeycomb type of look in there, just like a real insect, how they have like a bunch of eyes or whatever. Next up, we have this head sculpt. And to me, this looks a little more realistic than the previous one. And for me, I don't know. I don't like this one as much as the other ones. It's probably my least favorite, but it's very well done. The sculpting work is very nice. And from pictures that I saw online, I think that this is based on a flying roach. I'm not 100% sure. At first I thought it was like a grasshopper or something, but you know, I don't know. I'm not an insect enthusiast, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But it does look cool, and the details are very nice, and it does have that same kind of honeycomb grid effect on the eyes. Again, it's very hard to see on camera, but in person you could definitely see it. But yeah, this one is very well done too. It's just a matter of preference for me, you know. I just prefer the other one. And then next up we have this one here, and I'd say this one doesn't look as realistic as the previous one. It kind of has like a more animated feel, kind of like the first one that I showed, but it does look very, very cool. It looks very like evil. Maybe it's like a bad guy for Gomez or something. And it does have that same grid effect on the eyeballs. And I think this one's really cool. I love the colors on it, that goldish brown, and then you have like the black wash in there. That looks really nice. It did a very good job on it. And then the final head sculpt is this black skull, and this looks really nice too, but it's a little bit too big, so you could kind of play it off as like a guy wearing a mask. But yeah, that's a really interesting thing to include in here. Maybe this is another villain for Gomez. But yeah, I like the way this looks. A lot of people have mentioned using this as like a black mask custom for their DC figures. I think that's a pretty good idea. Most of the skull has like a matte black finish to it, but then inside of the eyes, it's a little bit more shiny. So I think that's pretty cool to make the eyes look a little bit different. In addition to the multiple heads that he comes with, he also comes with a bunch of other cool stuff, including 7 different sets of hands. First off, we have a pair of fists. He has a set of open hands. He has multiple sets of gripping hands. First off, we have a set of kind of tight gripping hands that can be used to hold on to his sword. And then he actually comes with 3 different pistol gripping hands. 2 of them are for his left and right side, and they have like a tighter grip so he can hold on to the smaller gun. And then the other one is just for his right side, and it has a bigger grip so he could hold on to the rifle. And then opposite of that, he has like an open hand that could hold the other end of the gun. And only for his left side, he comes with this big wide gripping hand, and this could be used to hold on to these canisters that he comes with. And also only for his left side, he has this hand that's holding up 2 fingers. Finally, the last set of hands that he comes with is a pointer finger for his right side, and then his left side is just a middle finger sticking up. And then one of his coolest accessories that he comes with is his boombox, and this is awesome. And I know that Mezco is like a New York based company and they take pride in that. And I don't know, when I see boomboxes, I think of old school hip hop, and that makes me think of New York. So I just think this is really, really dope. But the detail is very nice on it. It looks very old school and 80s and reminds me of LL Cool J. But what's really cool about this thing is that you can slide it open, and then it's a gun carrying case. So it comes with two different pieces of foam, so you could hold, like, you could like change it up, and you have some variation there. You could either do it like this, or it comes with another piece where you could disassemble his rifle and place it in here, and I'll show you how to disassemble that in just a second here. But man, this is a really, really cool and different accessory. And man, this is just an awesome thing to come with this figure. But yeah, check out the details on it. You got the tape deck, the speakers, you got the little dial there. And the boombox does come with these little stickers. I haven't taken them out yet. I'm probably just going to wait for like the standard release of this figure to put the stickers onto the boombox. For now, I'll probably just leave these in the packaging. In the future, like, I don't think any of these logos are based on anything specific. I've seen that before on the Mezco pin, actually. I'm not really sure what that is. But I think it would be really cool if they did some logos based on things that were like real, you know, like how cool would it have been if they gave us like a Wu-Tang symbol, or maybe just like a, what if like an M for Mezco, but in the like Wu-Tang type of label, you know? That would have been awesome, something like that, you know? But what we have here is really cool, and I think it would add a lot of character to the boombox. That'd be super dope. I really like these little canisters. I like how they have like the skull face on them with the red eyes, and then those things kind of look like teeth. You got the pin there, and like I mentioned before, he is able to hold on to these things, and he does come with two of them. So really interesting looking little grenade kind of canisters. And then he comes with this little tiny gun, and this thing really reminds me of like the noisy cricket from Men in Black. And then he does come with a sheath that can hold on to his sword, and the sword is pretty nice. It just has like a black blade that kind of makes it unique, and there's really not too much to it, but it's a cool looking sword. And then last but not least, you've got the rifle. I don't think that I've ever seen a rifle that you could disassemble in 6-inch scale. So check this out. You could take this off, take the scope off, take the barrel off, take this piece off, and then of course it has the removable magazine. You got the bullet in there. That's not really new. We've seen that on a lot of Mezco figures. You could even use it as different types of guns. It doesn't look like an actual real life gun, so it kind of has like a sci-fi type of feel to it. So you could use your imagination. Like, I think it kind of looks cool like this, or, you know, even throw this piece on there and it kind of looks like a shotgun type of gun, you know? So lots of cool things that you could do here. So I think that's so awesome, and that's really interesting. Mezco always goes like above and beyond when it comes to the guns. I mean, I've never seen anyone in 6-inch scale do the removable magazines, and now we have a gun that you could fully disassemble and put into a carrying case, and that's just insane. And as much as I like this gun that comes apart, once you assemble it and then put it in his hands, like once you're trying to pose him with it, it falls apart really easy. I have the magazine falling out, the back piece coming out, everything just kind of comes apart when you're handling it, you know? So you need to kind of be aware of that when you're messing with it, because it does get a little frustrating. And then he has a couple of different muzzle flare effects. First off, we have this one that we've seen a couple times before, but it's still really cool. And then we have this muzzle flare effect here, which I think is new. I don't think we've seen it before. This one is really cool too. There's no bullet at the end of it or anything like that, but I do like the way this one looks a lot. And then he does come with a jacket, and this jacket looks nice too. It has some like fake buttons right here, has some fake pockets, but it all looks cool. And then the little belt thing has a wire in it, so you could pose that a little bit. And a couple people asked me if it was the same as the Punisher jacket, but it is not. As you can see, they look very different from each other. The Punisher one looks bigger, so I doubt that you could fit the Gomez one onto the bigger figures, but you could probably fit it like on Spider-Man or, you know, the smaller bodies. And then now here we have Gomez with the jacket. There's so many different options, and this jacket is just another layer of awesomeness that you could apply to this figure. And here we have the jacket with the sheath on here, and just that looks so awesome. It's just a cool looking figure with so many different display options. And I think the best way to handle the jacket is to remove the overcoat thing. So I took that off and then put the jacket on, and this is actually the first time that I put the jacket on him, and I just love this thing. I think this looks so cool, and I'm always a big fan of characters with big jackets, you know, Spider-Man Noir, Gambit, things like that. Always just love dudes with big jackets. These are they just always look so cool. So Gomez is no exception, so I'm very happy with how this looks. And here's a look at it with the black skull and the jacket on, and it kind of makes the black skull not look so big. It still looks too big for the body either way, but having the jacket on there kind of makes it look a little bit more even. And then one thing I want to share with you is that it does come with a set of instructions, and these are very useful so that you know how to break down the guns and put them in the boombox and all that stuff. But another interesting thing about the instructions is that it shows a couple accessories that were not included with the figure, which maybe Mezco wanted to, but they couldn't get it done by the time Toy Fair came around. But I did ask Mezco on Facebook whether we're going to see these in like a standard release in the future, and they did say yes. So that's something to look forward to. I think the skateboard, or stereo board is what it's called, sorry, will be pretty cool, especially if those magnets are strong enough to hold onto his feet. And then a backpack is really cool. I don't think we've seen a Mezco figure with a backpack yet. And then maybe it's going to come with a micro Mez-Its figure. And now for the grand finale of the accessories portion of this review, we have the Mezco stand. And these things are very nice, except they get scratched super easy. As you can see, I just removed this thing out of the packaging and there's all kinds of scratches. But luckily we have Gomez's big old head right here in the center, so it consumes most of the space that would be scratched. So I do like that a lot. And then you do have the peg that he could stand on, or you could pose him on the articulated posing arm. All right, now so let's take a look at some of these things that were included with Gomez that they also gave out at Toy Fair. All the following items are things that were included in that Mezco press goodie bag that they handed out to people at the event. I'm really happy to have my hands on some of this stuff. It's really nice to see this Mezco catalog that they put out, and most of this stuff was on display at the event, so there's nothing really new here. But it's always cool to see these really nice images of the upcoming figures that they have coming out. But this was a big surprise, obviously, and not a lot of people knew about this, and it wasn't even on display at the show. So it's nice to get a good look at this, because before I had the catalog, I was just going based off pictures online and stuff. So it is very cool to see this, and this figure is going to be awesome. And then I don't think that I knew, or I'm sure I figured, but it wasn't confirmed that Black Bolt was going to come with an open mouth head and a screaming effect. So that's nice to see that there. I'm excited about that Black Bolt figure, but I don't know. It kind of looks a little bit off to me. I don't know. It could be really cool. It could be disappointing, but we'll see. Black Bolt's one of my favorite characters, actually. There's Blade. I'm super excited about that. That should be coming out pretty soon here. Captain Marvel, that was announced at the show, and she looks really good too. Hela, all kinds of stuff. Some things that are already out, like Black Panther. Here's Punisher. We should be seeing that pretty soon too. But let's skip all this. And this was the other thing that I was really excited about. Gambit, one of my favorite characters. And just based on this image, you know, it's hard to come up with an opinion just based on this one image. But one thing that I see that I already don't like is the eyes. I wish they were more red. In this picture, they kind of look orange, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there'll be multiple heads with different color eyes or something like that. And then you have Batman Supreme Knight. There's not too much, you can't really see what's going on there, but I'm sure it's going to be cool. All the Mezco Batman stuff is great. But yeah, this is a cool catalog. It looks very high quality and all that good stuff. But, you know, for the most part, not too many surprises. And then there's a bunch of, you know, other Mezco products in here. And then it came with one of these Mez-Its figures. And these are kind of fun. It's kind of like a blind bag situation. You don't know what color you're going to get until you open the little bag that it comes in. And that's kind of cool. And I believe that Mezco has done giveaways. Like if you get the golden one, you send it to Mezco and they give you a prize or something like that. I don't know. I don't pay too much attention when they do stuff like this. But, you know, some people are into it, but I'm not really. I know that I've gotten a couple of these from things that I've ordered from the Mezco website. And to be honest with you, I have no idea where they're at. It's just not something I'm really into. And another thing that was pretty cool that they came with was dog tags. Not much to them, just your typical dog tags, but you have Gomez right there. Then on this side, it just says Mezco, mezcotoys.com. And then next up, we have this little lanyard that has Gomez on it. And then it says by collectors, for collectors. It says Mezco. You know, it's a pretty cool little lanyard. I might use it for Comic-Con or something, or maybe just throw some pins on it. And speaking of pins, this is probably the stuff that I like the most out of all these little goodies, is the pins. So first off, we have this one here, and I'm not too sure what this is. It just says Rumble Society. So if you know what this is, let me know in the comments. Maybe this is something, this has something to do with Gomez. Who knows? But it does look cool. You got a blue skull right here, and you got some lightning bolts. I have no idea what this is, but maybe this is something we'll see, like an enemy for Gomez, or maybe it's something that's really popular that I just have no idea about. Let me know in the comments. And then let's see, last but not least, I'd say that this is the thing that I like the most, this Mezco pin. This is really, really nice. Check it out. It's like a gold Gomez pin. I know a lot of people are excited about this figure because of the potential for head swaps, but it's a little tough because you can't really pop the neck off that easy without heating it up, and I really didn't want to do that because I didn't want to risk damaging the figure. So when you're swapping out the head, you're still going to have this neck that is sculpted kind of like, you know, to match Gomez, which is ideal for Gomez, but it's not the best thing for head swaps. But if you're pretty good with angling and things like that, you can make things work. Like from right there, I think that looks pretty cool. And this head doesn't pop on or anything. It's just sitting on there. So, I mean, there's some potential, but just not as much as some people would like. I got a bunch of different heads here that we're going to try. So that's the head from the Tactical Suit Punisher, obviously. And then next up we have Shazam's head. The head is a little bit big, but if you just want, you know, like a guy in a suit, I think that kind of works. Again, you'd have to get clever with the angling. And once again, the head does not pop on. It's just sitting on top of there. And the neck is a little thick too, so it's going to push some heads up. Luckily, this head is big enough to just cover the whole thing, but then it just kind of looks like it's sitting low. Then next up, we have Superman. If you want to make like a Clark Kent situation. Again, all these look pretty cool, but none of them are popping on, and all of them have to kind of deal with that neck, which is okay. I mean, if you want, you could probably heat up the neck and take it off and stick like Superman's neck in there or something like that, but it's just kind of not worth the risk for a figure that's this rare. So maybe when the standard release comes out, people could start experimenting with that kind of stuff. Let's see what else we got going on here. We've got Black Adam's head. You could make that like a goon. Again, it's not popping on. It just kind of sits up there. Then let's see, we have Red Skull. Let's see, his kind of popped on, but it's not on there tight, but it does stay. So that kind of works. Check that out. And then you could kind of get away with the neck, just like pretend like he's mutated or something, you know. And then we have Deathstroke. And then last but not least, I have the X-Force Deadpool head. And I think that probably, out of all the head swaps that I've tried, I think that works the best. And you could excuse the neck because you could just pretend like it's part of Deadpool's deformities, you know. So that kind of works, even though the skin tone isn't quite there. Still, you know, I guess it's close enough. It could probably work for pictures. And for some quick size comparisons, here he is next to the Mezco 112 Collective Black Panther and Mezco 112 Collective Tactical Suit Punisher. And now here we have the Mezco Black Suit Spider-Man and Mezco Dark Knight Returns Batman. Next up is the NECA movie Raphael and the Mafex comic book Spider-Man. And then now here we have the Shocker Toys Tick figure and the Marvel Legends Deadpool. And as always, here we have the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. So the articulation on Gomez is actually really good. Like I mentioned before, it feels like it's on the same body as the Mezco Spider-Man figures, but some of the articulation seems improved, so it's really hard to tell. But anyways, let's get into it here. His head is able to move side to side, and he does have the typical Mezco neck setup where you have movement where the neck meets the torso and where the neck meets the head. So using both of those joints, you could get him to tilt side to side. You get some really nice movement all the way around. He could look up to about right there. Then he could look down to right there. And then his little antennae are able to move around, so those are articulated, so that is very nice. And then for the torso is really good. I think that's where they took the Spider-Man body and then improved on it, because it seems like he gets a lot more bend than the Spider-Man figures do. Check that out. That's awesome. That's probably one of the best ab crunches we've seen on a Mezco figure, so that's really dope. And then it can move to the side to about there. A really nice amount. Check that out. That's awesome. And then you could get him to go back to about right there. Really good stuff in the torso. And it does have the typical Mezco torso setup where it has the mid-torso cut and then a cut at the waist. So using both of those, you get a lot of really great movement from there. And then for the arms, you could bring them all the way forward like this. Of course, if you have the overcoat on or the jacket, then you're going to get a lot less movement from the arms, obviously, but that should be pretty obvious. And then his arms could come out to the side, and he has the upper bicep swivel. He does have a ball jointed shoulder, but there's no type of swivel. But it's okay. It's still pretty, it gets nice range everywhere, so that's good. And then you have the double jointed elbows. You have a hinge at the wrist and a swivel at the wrist. And then for his legs, they come all the way up to right there. So that's a really nice amount. They come out to the side to about right there. You could pretty much do the splits. Yeah, you can do the splits. Check that out. That's cool. You can't really bring them back too much though. You could only bring them back to about right there. And then you do have a upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee. And then his feet do have some nice movement, but because the style of the shoes, it's a little hindered, but it's okay. He has no problem standing up. So even though it's a little less than some other Mezco figures, I think the feet are good for the most part. And then you have a swivel side to side. You have the up and down, a little bit of rocking. So really good articulation on this guy. It's probably one of the most articulated Mezco figures. Well, I guess a lot of other Mezco figures have the same amount of articulation, but I think that the articulation on this figure is probably the most functional that we've seen on a Mezco figure. Okay, so now it's time to wrap this thing up. Overall, I love this figure. I'd say that he's probably the funnest Mezco figure that we've seen so far because he's just so much fun to handle. All the articulation works really good. He has so many different display options and so many different accessories and just all kinds of things going on, and it just makes for a really fun figure. And I really love the fact that he's so bizarre looking. He definitely stands out on the shelf even with your other Mezco stuff. Even though he fits in like aesthetically, he's just really strange looking, so he looks very cool standing on the shelf. And I really hope that they put out a bunch of different versions of Gomez because there's so many different things you could do. I would love to get a version with a white undershirt. You know, just simple changes like that can make for really fun figures. And it kind of feels like something that you could army build because it comes with so many different heads. Maybe those could all be different characters for Gomez to fight or whatever. You know, there's a lot of different possibilities, and it's always cool getting a figure that doesn't really have much of a backstory because you could use your imagination and stuff like that when you're taking your pictures. And it is pretty cool that they're going to be coming out with a comic book for Gomez, you know, just to flesh it out a little bit. And I think that's awesome. They should really focus on that and make it maybe like a character that we could get into past it just being a mascot for a toy company that we like, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, I think that's it. Thank you so much for sitting through this crazy long review. I think this is probably the longest review I've done, but there was a lot of stuff to cover here, and you know, I just had a lot of fun talking about this, guys. So thank you for having patience and sitting through it. I really appreciate it. If you do like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thank you very much. Peace.